call him Jim, and he is
That's true.
practicing in Gainesville, and I am an author, a children's book author. And we've decided to collaborate in discussing the best ways to talk about feelings for children. And I'm writing a book series called I Feel When, and it explores one feeling per book. And each book it's written for beginning readers, basal readers, so that the first words children learn to read help them share how they feel. And today we're going to talk about anger. So, what can you tell us about anger?
Well, one thing that was interesting today was that you said, I think you said something about, can you always express anger, or should you always express anger, or you might have even asserted maybe people shouldn't always express anger, their anger. That's probably could be intuitive to everybody, but it's counterintuitive to kind of the way we've been talking. But
Yeah,
what I was going to say about that is that's a real important consideration about all this stuff with us teaching these methods of expressing emotions, because remember a long time ago when I was first going to those Marshall Rosenberg practices, and then we would try to do them at home at night just before bedtime. And do you remember your biggest complaint
no, I
about
don't.
what I was doing? Was that I wanted to go on and on and
Not one
on
hundred.
until we came to a joint resolution that satisfied everybody's need to a satisfactory degree, whatever that means. And what that really turned into was we're both going to get tireder and someone's going to get angry.
Yeah, anger is a tough one. I mean, I was looking at the book that I started, the thumbnail sketches, and I think we had talked about them a while back, a few weeks ago. And there's just so many ways to resolve it, and it's very complex. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Can we take a look at the story, the thumbnail sketch, and see what you think about it? I'm going to just put it on share screen here. And I've decided to call this one, I Feel Angry When You Eat My Cookie.
Very cool.
So the reason why I picked this was because I want to bring it down to a level for a kid. And that's something I've noticed. Sometimes somebody gets left out. Anyway, so
Oh, that's a very good point. So you weren't just saying not getting your cookie, but it's partly about being left out.
yeah,
Okay, cool. I like
this is
that.
so here's the two kids, and there's a plate of cookies out there, and he's like, "This is my cookie," and the other one's like, "This is my cookie." And then some while he's taking his cookie, somebody else takes it from him and says, "No, this is my cookie." And he says, "Do not eat my cookie. You took my cookie. Do not eat my cookie." This cookie's good. Yum. Don't you hate that when somebody like that flaunts it in front of you,
Yeah, I do.
You ate my cookie. Oh, he's just flabbergasted that somebody would actually take his cookie. I feel angry when you eat my cookie. Now, this is the part where I'm like, wow, I'm so glad I could freeze this frame, because look at the other guy. We don't do that when we talk about our feelings, do we? Sometimes he did.
Wait, could you say that again? I'm
Well,
looking at him.
okay. He says, I feel angry when you eat my cookie. And the other guy has a sad face on his, like, does he feel guilty? Why did it? Then you have to ask yourself, why did he take the cookie? And we explored ways to solve the problem. And you could go tell the teacher, and the teacher could give you a timeout. And he could just talk about his feelings to the teacher. And we decided that that wouldn't be a good way to write this for little kids, because we want to try to teach them ways that they can resolve their own problems rather
Okay.
than, and then um, you could say, here's another cookie, I'm sorry, make amends. You could ask for forgiveness. And this we had talked about, and originally I said I feel angry when I do not get a cookie. What is so? And then he's still feeling upset. So there's different, yeah, we talked about the different ways to resolve it.
Yeah.
Sharing, telling the teacher, getting a new cookie. And when you think about all of these things in terms of the I Care Cats with Peaceworks that I used when I was teaching, they say, what do? You stop and you think, and we're careful about what we say and we do. And we're respectful for each other's feelings. We listen to each other, we help each other, and we take turns. And here, obviously one of the kids wasn't respectful, maybe.
I guess, in terms of the book, you know, um, the language is going to be like crucial. So what I would have is every single, I mean, when we talk, that's one thing, but every person in the book, I would hope would use the sort of observation, feelings, need, request formula. Like I would recommend it because, so if a teacher finds out about something, I would try to just avoid, because it's commonplace anyway. It'll be actually new and different, I think. If things like respectful, disrespectful are left out. Basically any judgments, categorizations, labels, sort of inferences about a person's character or about the action they took, because it's, to some degree, you could argue it's irrelevant whether something's good or bad.
Okay, so if we slow that down to
Mhm.
into the book, and we talk about those, what are the 5 things? Observation. So where would the observation place be?
Observation is, I saw you eat my cookie. It's right there. This is my cookie. That's an observation. When you ate my cookie, that's an observation.
Okay, so right here, he was like asking, saying, no, that's my cookie, excuse me. So really, sometimes that's an observation. Is that okay? Is that,
I mean,
or
also, I try not to be the arbiter of what's okay and what's not. But I know what you mean.
I mean, if we're gonna follow the I Care rules or whatever it's called, or the Marshall Rosenberg thing.
Yeah, and maybe the philosophy behind all these.
I mean, these things happen in a split second, I mean, this whole interaction I've got a 19 PowerPoint slides and takes about, 6 minutes to read, can take 10 seconds to happen, or 30 seconds to
Sure.
happen in real life. And so I think that in a way, the slides are sort of slowing it down.
Mhm. By the way, I like to take them out of order to make them more natural sounding, based on kind of what you just said, and that is like, I know that some of it is also, it's a reader, so do not eat my cookie, you want full sentences. I get that.
Yeah.
It's possible a kid might have said, hey, that's my cookie. I don't know if you like that kind of wording, because again, well, also you probably don't want to do contractions, right, with apostrophes.
But you could just say, that's my cookie.
Oh, that's okay for
Or
you?
that
Okay.
is my,
That is my cookie. Okay. So that's one thing. I want to be sensitive to the grade level here because you're better at that than I am. But another one I thought about was you ate my cookie and I'm angry. So that's kind of the observation. Actually, no, that is in order. That's observation feeling. So you know how like the pat or the kind of best known phrasing is I feel blank when you blank, or when you blank, I feel blank. That's probably another thing that gets old for people. So
yeah, but I want it
you,
to be, so these are 5-year-olds that I want it hasn't even had a chance to get old for yet.
oh yeah. So you want the
I
repetition.
want it to be to the place where they are, it becomes part of their pattern.
Okay, so you want the repetition and then they can learn to improvise around it. Or you can write another level of books for other grades.
Yeah, more
Like
sophisticated feeling.
sophisticated. So it is observations, feelings, needs, requests.
So
Observation.
he's observing. You took my
You took
cookie.
my cookie. Yep, absolutely.
That's where he doesn't make a request, I think is the problem here. Because he says, do not eat my cookie. He's telling him. So,
Right. Yeah.
so he really should say, do not eat my cookie. I want my cookie. Can you please give me my cookie? Can you give me my cookie?
Um, yeah. How many ways I would like you to give me my cookie? Please give me my cookie. I'm asking you to give me my cookie. Will you give me my cookie? Will you give me my cookie, please? Yeah, whatever hits you, what strikes you as best.
Actually, that would be another slide, I think.
You also like,
Don't you think? Like,
sure, yeah.
yeah, because I think it'd be better to have him be mad at first, because that is what happens in real life. You see somebody grabbing your cookie, and you're like, oh, how could
Yeah.
you?
And you mentioned today that the expressing anger may not always be the thing to do. There might be a time and a place for expressing anger and a time and a place for not expressing anger.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess I mean in words, because some our faces respond automatically when we're having strong emotions. Unless we've gotten in the habit, which a lot of us have, of unconsciously masking our emotions as a steady pattern, you know what I mean, constant pattern. So anyway, but however, a kid might look angry, so that's anger expression. But anyway, in terms of saying I am angry, that would be interesting maybe in the story to show how that doesn't, even though we want kids to state their feeling, it may not work exactly right in the moment. Like you say, I am angry, please give me my cookie.
I think it's important for the kid too. Like, you know, this one kid right here is flaunting it in front of him.
Yeah.
And he's shocked.
Yeah.
And he doesn't understand. The other kid doesn't understand that, you know, look at him smiling. And then when he says how he feels, the other kid does genuinely feel sad.
Changes expression, yeah. So if you want to depict that, then that's great. That's much simpler. It doesn't bring in the complexity of expressing anger. However, again, these are kids, so it's probably better for them to learn that this can work earlier, and then somehow talk about the complexities of when it doesn't work, you know, and why it doesn't work sometimes, you know, how it doesn't work, depending on the two people involved in that. So, okay, how many pages are you going for, or how many? Is there a standard?
Yeah, I was thinking of even breaking these, like this page 10 would be 2 pages, because it's going to be 40 pages.
Oh, okay, so there's plenty of room for a lot of playing around. You could show that the process may work not immediately, but ultimately it works, like within one book, right?
Yeah, I think what we need here after slide 10, um, really, slide 10 should be just the left side and slide 11 should be the right side.
Okay.
Don't you think? So that way it would show the importance of him responding to his feelings. We don't, obviously that doesn't happen in real life, but we want to model that, you know. We want
Yeah,
them to
okay.
think that, it's a good thing to tell your feelings. And I do think, from what I've observed with little people, if they knew how much they hurt another person and you pointed out to them, they can be pretty compassionate little citizens.
Mhm. Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
all of them, but the majority.
Yeah, I think that there's something about when, like, say, kids go to school. I haven't read anything on this, but you're in this formalized group, and I think to kids that probably means this is a place where I learn what is normal in my society. They probably won't say that in those words, but I think that's what they're looking for. They leave their house, they're going somewhere that's a public place, and they're probably watching for examples of what the rest of the world does, you know. So if this is what's presented in their schools, they'll start to think of it, they'll start to normalize it internally, and then they'll have that internal expectation to do it. And because it's in a classroom, the other kids are more likely to develop an internal expectation that this is how we respond when people express emotions, especially if they claim their emotions in a responsible way, like I feel angry
Yeah.
when you eat my cookie. And then you're actually right in the picture, normalizing the person who ate the cookie, changing their expression. So that normalizes that it's okay to hear that someone's angry, that it's not an accusation, that it's not a characterization of me. It is just you feel angry and you're letting me know, which is important, which is the key. It's the essence of it. It's to
Yeah.
know.
So, and then, um, of course, if somebody does take a cookie that's not theirs and eats two cookies instead of one, when they were told to only eat one, they deserve a timeout, or I don't know.
That's going to be up to you. I try to take deservingness out of everything,
Yeah.
because I'm into what is effective in behavior change. So
Yeah, that's why I think I wrote an X on this one because I decided to take that out of the
because I thought I heard you say
explanation.
you were gonna take the adults out, I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So you're just kind of showing some of the background.
The thinking behind I we how we arrive at these dialogues. I mean, it is a thoughtful process that we go through to make sure that we sift through the words and boil it down to the bare minimum, but
Mhm.
try to make it profoundly responsible and caring.
You know what's interesting is that a lot of what I talk about has a particular bias, and part of it comes from being a counselor all these years. And is that, like, when I've gotten people who've committed crimes and they're sent to me, um, or who have been charged with a crime or who have been alleged to commit a crime or whatever, because I really don't know. I have to work with them in a way that is going to facilitate them changing, particularly because a lot of them do want to change something in their lives. So we go with kind of enlightened self-interest. And what I mean by that is that I have a bias against thinking that punishment and reward always do the trick. With a lot of my clients, including, like, again, back when I was getting a lot of them that were involved in the criminal justice system, was finding what their, like, biggest inner drives and desires were. And then we troubleshoot to try to find out how can they get those inner drives and desires satisfied and achieved. And creativity came out of that. And a lot of times it was like, well, I don't need to be blowing up and beating up somebody. I don't need to be constantly on something, because some people were coping with excessive use of substances. And so they started moving toward what is effective to get me what I want in life. And so just remember that when I'm talking from that perspective. So if you want to put in punishments and rewards, that's cool.
No, I think this is the whole point of what this slide is. I really have to develop this slide a little bit more.
Are they petting a pig with 3 eyes? No,
Whoops.
I'm just joking. I get it. That's a table with a plate of cookies.
Oh, now where did it go? The point is, yeah, here it is. I want it to be a win-win.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Hey,
So
I made this
everybody
thing
have
that is not a registered trademark, but I put a T on it with in a little circle on my old anti-bullying pamphlet that I made.
Yeah.
And it was win-win, which it's spelled WINWYN, and it stands for what I need, what you need. Win-win. WINWYN. Because I'm just so brilliant and handsome.
I know.
Anyway.
Okay. Well,
so I just want to put that out there that Jim Porter has trademarked that, that not registered with the patent office or whoever you do that with, but I just want to let people know that I claim that.
Okay, well, we could put it in the book if you want. So here's the whole point is everybody gets a cookie if we all treat each other well.
Yeah. You know what's interesting, and you may not want to do it in this book, but what about in situations where that can't happen, where there were 5 cookies, there were 5 children, and one child ate 2 cookies, and they still need to resolve something. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think that's a good one. I mean,
because that's
that's where anger comes. That's why anger is such a hard emotion to talk about, because usually anger occurs when you feel that you've been mistreated, and then there's because of a conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you write a book for kids, you have to resolve that conflict and you have to make it okay. So, and that's what everyone say, all my writing friends say, oh, at the end, everyone has to be happy and you have to resolve the conflict.
So would you agree with that?
I think it helps. I think it helps children who are very literal.
Okay. So that's
especially if you only can use Dolch sight words and you're making, I think, and that's the problem, I think, with the story yet. I still haven't resolved it. I think rather than having choices to resolve it, I think that would be book. Maybe you're right. We should have another book where he doesn't get a cookie. And he feels really bad. You can still resolve that. I mean, you could, his mother could come home and the kid who took the cookie could make new cookies at home, and his mother could tell him that you can't take that. You can't take, it's not right.
I just thought of an interesting idea that I've never seen, but then I don't read children's books much. And that is, you could make a 2-book publication, meaning they come together or something like that. And one is where it ends and it's not resolved. And then in the second one, it's a full same number of pages, where because they've communicated openly without judging or blaming, they're able to go off together and look for a solution, So it's 2 books, but it's basically within the same day. And the kid, says, oh no, I really feel bad because there aren't any more cookies. Like, look, I'll go get you a cookie. And then he comes back and it's a cliffhanger. He says, I couldn't find a cookie. Dun, dun, dun. And then the second part of the book, the second book will be like a full story about how they go through a few things to solve it in some way to feel happy. And maybe even at the end of that one, the kid realizes that if he can't have his cookie, he's very glad that the other guy cared.
And that's where forgiveness comes in. That would be a whole book on forgiveness.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a
right.
definite feeling, isn't it? I mean, I feel forgiveness when you make amends.
Yeah, there's this process over there that I forget what the movement is called, but it was like developed in places where genocides happened. And I think on the continent of Africa, and I think sub-Saharan Africa, like the Congo or other places like that, where people who lived in the same communities were forced or kidnapped into becoming part of one army or the other, killing people in their own village, and things like that. And then, sometimes they were kidnapped as children, and by the time the conflict was over, they were adults. And when the conflict was over, there was nowhere to go. They couldn't go back to some other country because they were from the same area. And they had to sit there. It's called restorative justice. And they had to sit there and claim everything they did and how horrible the tragedies they caused were. And it came from some old tribal processes. But anyway, the ultimate thing was there were some things they just couldn't undo. But the tribe forced a process, or the group, I don't know if they would call it tribes, the group forced a process that said, listen, you take full responsibility for this, and you need to do what you can to restore what you can. And then you're allowed to be part of our community again. So anyway,
Wow. That would be really, I think
no,
we're
no,
cheating our kids if we make it too Pollyannish. Like, oh, everything comes out perfect.
yeah,
Because then you get this way of thinking that everything is okay, even when it's not.
yeah. And if you write a 2-book series, that's more money. I'm just kidding, but it's I'm sure that there's a way to do it. You can package them together or just package them separately.
Well, no, I mean, this is going to be a 20-book series.
Oh yes, but what I mean is, if you do this one story about these two kids and the angry cookie incident, the anger cookie incident, you could make it end not unresolved, but then say, read the next volume to see how they resolve this or something.
Yeah. And make him feel like I feel better that I told you my feelings. I mean, and he could say he's sorry.
That's a good point. You don't even have to do a 2-book series. You have enough pages where you can show that a less Pollyannish resolution came out of it,
Yeah. And then you could have the resolution, I forgive you.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be in order.
Mm-hmm. And it can be very hard to forgive someone unless you're looking at the other person and you feel that it means something. So the person who took the cookie and smiled while he or she ate it might say, I don't know what that person could offer, but
And the weirdest thing I've observed as a teacher is I used to have a little peace table where kids would sit and resolve their conflicts and talk about their problems. And you know what? The kids that had the most conflicts with one another ended up becoming friends.
that kind of, in my own little superstitious way, that kind of makes sense because conflict is a part of every relationship. So if you have conflict in a relationship and you think it shouldn't be a part of the relationship, then you might suddenly conclude that the relationship is wrong and not meant to be, which is
Yeah, it's part of you don't have a relationship if you don't have any.
Yeah. That's right. There's some connection missing if there's not some conflict. Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of being connected somehow.
So that's funny. Yeah, you could, because you have the sort of ability to author, edit, re-author, re-edit this book, you could come up with a pretty sophisticated but easy to understand resolution that might not be about the cookie.
Yeah. Well, just saying I'm sorry, I think is enough, you
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah.
I will help. I will bring you a cookie tomorrow.
Yeah, I
Or
will.
we can make cookies together. We could make
Yeah, or yeah, like right, exactly, like an invitation, like I want to bake cookies with you, or can you come over to my house? I want to hope or something. Yeah, okay, you know what you're doing. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, let me
that's
write that down
cool.
before I
That is
get.
cool. We are so smart and attractive.
Let's see. I know. It's so much fun. Okay, so um we can make cookies together. We can make cookies at my house.
If I send you a chat, will it be on the recording?
I don't know.
Ah,
Try it.
No, never mind. I don't actually. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I think we really have a good
Yeah.
concept here. And now I have to get with the program and make these people monsters. I've decided to make them monsters. You saw that last week. So
Furry fuzzy monsters.
yeah. So I have some work to do and make some cookies and all that.
That's
So,
fun.
yeah.
That's
Okay.
fun.
Well,
All right.
thank you.
I really appreciate doing this. It wakes me up, and it gets me thinking.
Me too.
All that stuff. So, um,
I actually put
all right.
makeup on.
Is mine showing?
No.
Did I overdo it? All right. All right. Well, am I allowed to say I love you on this professional video?
I don't know. Well,
Okay.
I love you too.
You can edit that out. Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Good luck.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye.